Yeah. Remember my friend from Atlanta? She told me to start hearing this, even in my car. So, but at the car, goes out like it should, and I can put you to sleep. I'm not bigger than that. You gotta turn on each other. Randall. Because he gets off this radio show 4. Let's see about at 6. So you wanna wait or you wanna do it 6:03?
We have a quorum.
Let's start.
Let's start.
Right. Okay. Good evening. Today is April the 11th, and the time is 6:03, and we're gonna start our planning board meeting for the month of April 2023. Could I get a motion to open the public hearing for 6-12 Hudson Avenue?
All second.
All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, Walter's asked not to be on the menu, not to be on the agenda. So we're going, can I get a motion to?
Well, let's just make sure no one in the public.
Oh, okay, that's true. Is there anyone in the public that have anything to say about 6-12? 6-12. Hudson Avenue is proposing to subdivide the property into 16 building lots. 8 of the 16 proposed building lots are for 8 detached single dwelling homes, and the remaining 8 proposed building lots are for 8 attached row houses. And do you know what, where Hudson Avenue is, that's back there where that gate is, okay? So.
No comment.
Is it a hand up?
No, I'm not getting that online.
Anybody in the planning board? No. Okay.
Most of the computer next one.
Till May,
Motion to continue until, the public hearing for 6-12 until May.
it's the May 9th meeting,
The May 9th meeting,
7 p.m.
it's at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Yeah, thank you. Can I get a motion?
I made a motion, John.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Everybody opposed, no. Okay, now, can I get a motion?
Maybe just go to the next one.
Or just, open, Okay.
Yeah, it's a public hearing as well.
open it? Can I get a motion to open the public hearing for 735-737 Columbia Street? Site plan application. By the potential owner, because I don't think they own it yet, I'll ask them that today. Seeking approval to convert the existing auto service center into a restaurant and event center. Okay.
And that's TJ's.
That's the old TJ Auto place. Yeah. Okay, so, can I get a motion to open that up? Okay, Jane? Yes, I can. All in favor? Okay. Okay, so, are you guys here? Oh, they're all.
We're on the computer.
Okay.
So
Do you have any-
So updates on our side, our project manager, Matt Gruber, sent over some updated documents, some of which you all had requested at the last meeting. We sent over the sort of sound assessment on our audio engineer's letterhead with his signature, so you have that for your records. We sent over the specific soil management plan that was done for the environmental phase 2 report. And we sent over an updated site plan showing some additions for trash and some other sort of minor comments that were picked up from the last meeting. And I don't know, Haley, do you want to give an update on anything with St. Charles with parking? Can't remember if there's been something since last time.
The status is relatively the same. I do have a draft now from our lawyers of the contract, and we're just going back and forth. So not much else to report on there.
Can I ask you a question? Do you own the place or everything is in contingency of you purchasing?
The building is purchased and I am an owner, yes.
Okay. Okay, we did go over some of this, we went over this, the sound mitigation and the sound study. And also parking, right, what they said about it. And we kind of think that we want to bring in, our engineer for the contamination in the building.
Okay. We thought we were sort of under the impression that he might be present at this meeting.
No, we haven't voted on whether we want to bring him in or not, so I'm bringing it out to the board today and see if that's the way they want to go. Plus, we're gonna need something more, should I say professional? Or more for the sound?
So the sound study, everyone should have received a copy. It was done by like a recording studio and not an engineer. So the board should discuss whether that is acceptable.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because you gotta find out if somebody in the recording studio was an engineer.
It's not signed by
No.
anyone as an engineer, and it has a disclaimer on top.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and the engineer's report also was, yeah, so we want to bring the engineer. Do you think we should bring Wayne in on this one? Or the,
Yeah, I think, we don't have the qualifications to be able to even study it, actually, so.
I don't know. I mean, what kind of qualification are you looking for? Because it's not the same thing as like a PE, like a licensed professional engineer. It's not the same licensure degree. So like in sound engineering and audio engineering, it's not like the same, at least in my experience as an architect working with audio engineers. I've worked up with many of them on multiple projects, and they list themselves as acoustic engineers, sound engineers. The names vary, and I guess like this is an extremely professional consultant that has done many projects, and big and small. I'm truthfully not even sure. I don't even know if we would want someone else. He's extremely good at what he does. And that's who we're working with on this project. And that's who we believe in to be the audio engineer on this project. So I'm a little bit we're not hired for ourselves. We wouldn't want to bring on someone that's not qualified to do the work. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what else to say about that. Like, it's a little bit challenging to think about restructuring our project team when this is yeah.
Chime in really quick. Patrick Higgins, who is the person who wrote the sound proposal, he owned and operated the building that is listed as next on the agenda, that Chris Lindstrom has purchased, which is a recording studio. He built that out, soundproofed it. That was in Hudson, owned and operated, never had a single noise issue. He is like a major star on the music scene, not just as a performer, but as a sound engineer. I don't know about title, but like his job is to go to venues and create soundproof envelopes. He has done this across the world. So yeah, I don't know. I think it would help if you guys were able to provide a specific title that you're looking for. I am also texting with him right now, and I asked, are you a sound engineer? And he said, yes, I am. I've engineered a few hundred recordings over the years. So I don't know if you need a license or something printed, but we're happy to provide whatever context.
What was provided was signed by an LLC. It says by Future Pass LLC with no indication of the person who prepared it or their credentials. I mean, normally when you get a professional report, the person who's signing it identifies who they are, what their credentials are, you know, sometimes even a CV would come with it. So that's one of the reasons why it's being questioned. The other issue is that in the past, we've had them identify and affirmatively state, in our opinion, with this mitigation, noise at the facility will be within the levels required under the zoning law. And here,
Which he does.
it just says this approach should be followed. I mean, it does say that, but I think we need,
It does say that. It says, it outlines the decibel levels required by the zoning code and says that everything in this.
aiming to achieve an acoustic envelope in the event space, which would reduce sound. Okay, so I think it's up to the board whether they want more information on the person who designed this or not.
We would want more information. Were you ever sent a copy of what, the pocketbook factory did?
We did send them.
Did you ever?
No, I
get
don't
that?
think we ever received it. We reached out to follow up, but
Well, you can, I think it's online too.
we reached out twice, I think, to follow up.
Online and pull it down and get an idea of what we're looking for. It doesn't have to be that extensive, but it does have to be something a little bit more.
Okay, we emailed you twice to because we said I know that you mentioned it 2 meetings ago now, and as a reference, and Matt had sent out 2 emails asking for those materials and they were never received. So
Well,
it's a,
For that, but I thought they were, but you can get it on the city's website. It's posted. Under the pocketbook factory.
and so what exact document is
Linda,
posted?
would you be able to send them a copy? Linda will be able to send you. I thought so too. I thought it was sent.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, is there any way to also, if it's about these sort of like updates to formatting and CVs and things like this, is there a way to do an interim review that's not postponing until the next month? Because as we go through historic, you know, we anticipate getting approval for historic shortly, and would love to, you know, especially since we've been sort of talking about sound, and every time we've had a comment from you, we've tried to address it immediately. And yeah.
Well, that's special meeting.
It depends on if you're hiring Ryan or not.
Right, yeah.
This report done by Future Past LLC, what's the gentleman's name?
His name is Patrick Higgins.
Patrick Higgins?
Patrick Higgins.
All right, there you
Well, we wouldn't be able to do a special meeting for this month because right now we're making a decision on whether we're gonna hire Ryan or not. To go over your the engineer's report. But if you would take a look at the sound mitigation that the pocketbook factory had done, it'll give you an idea of what we're looking for. And if you can't find it, then we'll have to send it to you again.
Yeah, I think it would be great if you could, we'll follow up after this meeting to just see if we can get a direct copy. I'm just, you know, this was brought up 2 months ago about the pocketbook factory, and that was never received. And last meeting, we also talked about potentially bringing Ryan in to talk about the soil management plan, and that's not happening now either. So all of these things are just getting delayed until now May.
So do we want to bring them in?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so. Do I have to get a motion on that?
Yeah.
Can I get a motion to bring Ryan in as the engineer to review the report for 735?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? So Valerie? Did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I did. I'm in favor.
So if Dustin's on, can you put his screen on? He's not here. He's there for a while.
Yeah, and Dustin, can you put your screen on?
He's there.
Yeah, he's there, but.
So I'm right here. I'm sorry. I'm just not feeling well. That's the only reason why my camera's off. I'm in bed. I hope that's okay.
All right. Valerie, you had a question?
No, my hand raised was just to say I was in favor, but no questions.
Okay. So
Just
we're
to,
gonna-
just to circle back again on both of these issues, I think I have a question, which is, or I guess a clarification, like I'm still texting with Patrick Higgins, who wrote that report, and we're happy to send an adjustment on with his, title on there. But he's just illuminating stuff that I'm not sure the board is aware of, and I guess maybe clarified through this document you're saying that the Pocketbook Factory has, but he's saying that there's no like actual title or profession for this general idea that you're asking. Like he has learned about soundproofing and sound containment through over 20 years in an industry working to set up sound recording studios and event spaces for people. So the legitimacy comes through experience and through working in the field. So I guess like it would be helpful to us to understand, like, besides whatever the report for the Pocketbook Factory contains, is there a specific type of professional you're looking for us to work with?
Acoustic engineer.
It's an acoustic engineer.
An acoustic engineer. No, well, that's what.
He is an acoustic engineer.
He didn't sign it.
But he didn't sign it.
He didn't sign it.
Oh, right.
So you're really just looking for an updated signature in which he cites himself as an acoustic engineer.
Well, yeah, if he could redo the report to make it similar to what we've been receiving, then I guess we can accept that,
Okay.
right? So then, yeah.
Can we I just want to make sure that we don't go through this again next, like 1 month later, when the report is adjusted and then there's a comment that you would have wanted a full CV, for example. Like, it's very hard to get these pieces in piecemeal, especially when we're not receiving materials from the board. So can we be very clear now exactly what we want so that we can get that for you and don't find out additional information next month?
Okay, we want something very much like what the Pocketbook Factory gave us. You came in and said that maybe he can redo his report and sign it off as a acoustic engineer. And we said, okay, you could submit it. And once we see it, then we can let you know whether we accept it or not. But I don't think we're able to tell you we're gonna accept it before we see it. So what we're telling you we want was something very similar to what the Pocketbook Factory has given us. So I'm a little confused as to what you're asking.
No, that's the quality of the report. I understand you can't approve something before seeing it, but just, like the way that a checklist would work. If you want a CV, that's one thing, then we'll get a CV. If it's about signing it with a certain like pedigree, then we can do that. It's just about knowing what to include. And I understand I understand that you want us to just match the Pocketbook Factory, which we did know 2 months ago, which is why we sent multiple emails trying to get that document. So it's just a little bit frustrating because we tried to do our best without receiving those. But we will, if it's just about matching the Pocketbook Factory, we will do that. But the content is there. The content is definitely there from the engineer.
You're gonna have to get it. Gee.
Teresa and Victoria, would it be, if we got the CV and the report with the correct signature or, like she said, pedigree or whatever, would that suffice?
I mean, the board should read it and
Yeah,
decide if it was sufficient to address the board's concern.
We're still gonna have to see it and we're gonna have to review it.
But I think no substantive changes to the text. They want to know what your initial comments are on what they've submitted.
Right, like if that, I mean, like you said, we don't know, we won't know until we see it, but do we foresee them needing anything else, or that just depends on what the report?
So what I'm hearing at this meeting in general is that if they follow some of the protocol or the procedure that's in the pocketbook factory report, correct?
Yes.
That you should be fine. You know, so I would actually go back and look at my document that I have currently in front of me and look at, does it match similar or pretty similar to, although you're two separate kinds of entities, similar to what the pocketbook factory, I think that is what the planning board is saying. If you are able to do that, then there should be, I would assume, some approval here.
Yeah, we understand, but you can understand my frustration that this was a conversation from 2 months ago.
I'm hearing you. I'm also hearing too, that that's publicly available as also on the website too, so.
City website.
You know,
I-
many times when I don't get what I'm supposed to get from somebody else, I look for it myself.
Sure. I think, yeah, we were under the impression that there was a specific document that only the board had, that they wanted us to match.
I understand.
And then the other thing is like the reason for the clarification is also, you know, are you wanting us to match the pocketbook factory based on format or on content? And I think what I'm trying to express is that the content of the audio of Patrick's assessment is all there in the document in front of you. And, you know, part of the reason for us really pushing ourselves to get, you know, to really follow this 10-day timeline to submit documents before we do a board meeting is because we assume that that's the time that the board is going to take to look at the documents. So, and we really push ourselves to meet those deadlines. So I'm hoping that, you know, the board has actually looked through that document and read it and tried to understand it. And I'm not sure that that's necessarily the case. And so it's hard to have a conversation about content, you know, that maybe was or wasn't viewed. And the question, so sure, if you want us to make it look different, if that's a formatting issue, if you want us to match the format of the pocketbook factory report, that's one thing. If there's comments on the content, that's another thing. And I'm trying to understand which one it is.
I think it's more content.
So, well, the pocketbook factory, it was a little bit different in that we were asking them to implement certain aspects before the CO. So why don't everyone just take a few moments now and go through the sound report and give them any feedback that you have on what was submitted?
We'll just get back to them in a week.
Well, I think if we get back to them during the week, then they won't be able to fix it for the next meeting, if it needs to be fixed at all.
Okay, I'm gonna go on.
Then, here, I'll pull it up and you can put it in this.
Can you put it on the screen?
I,
I will try and find it. One second.
Okay.
it's
What's
called
the address? 735.
735 Columbia.
No, pocketbook factory, right?
No,
No, not Falcon.
735 Columbia, but you, whatever is on the website.
It should have, that was in there. I read it, because it's all done. Those are things all finished.
And then, well, after you do sound, you want to talk about parking?
Yeah, they were talking about that, I forgot it, mine. Yeah.
Yeah, and the struggle is, with everyone on the internet is.
Okay, so I can't get it in.
Yeah.
It's about I read it.
But you're looking for pocketbook, I think.
I want to start this one.
Oh, fair, I have that one.
You got that one?
Yeah.
Before my date, it was like,
Or
no, hold on.
Yeah, can we pass that down?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's March 25th.
This is-
That's down, I thought.
I thought we were reviewing work with the AV integrator, advise the client and.
Vicky didn't get it from Joe. Put it down.
Oh, okay. So,
they did, they first. Report to the.
I think there must have been more than.
That's all I have.
November 18th, 21, that we did the resolution, so back around that period.
But instead of even looking at outlook, I think you should just focus on what they.
Yeah,
said.
the current one.
We only have one of these.
Well, it's so different on paper. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, okay, I read it. You didn't miss anything. Try not to.
This one here came up.
Yeah, this is the one that they bought. I think they did this for sales. So they're asking us to give them an idea of what they're supposed to bring.
So what they've presented, why does someone want to walk the board through the sound presentation?
Sure.
And you
So,
can see it on your screen, and
Sure.
then, yeah.
so the first time that we sent something, it was a little bit more graphic on our sort of letterhead, breaking it down a little bit more like in plain language, I would say. And then we, asked Patrick to format it, but it starts with an overview that kind of introduces the general strategies for what we're going to do sort of more globally. And then it goes into specifics for the different areas of the project. So the overview it's a combination of architectural and audio measures that are going to be taken. A lot of it has to do with the insulation types and the types of insulation used for soundproofing. Which
Excuse me, do you have it to put it on the screen?
Oh, sure.
So we
I
can,
can do that as well.
is it this, the first one you gave us in March?
I can do it and I can do it. This should be the one that you have that has the past futures stamp on it. It's a scan. I think we submitted maybe a hard copy one. We have it a hard copy stamp. This is the scan of it.
That's the one we have.
This is the one that you have.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it starts with this overview that's just to sort of say in, quote unquote, plain speak, the general approach. So, a lot of the first sort of line of defense is the building structure itself, which contains soundproof walls and ceilings. Then, of course, there's the technical aspect, and that's specialty equipment that gets plugged in to control volume levels. So different amplifiers, a control panel that's easily accessed by staff. It's going to be it's similar to an electrical panel that will sit sort of just behind the bar, easy access. And then there's the cultural and sort of community-led orienting for, awareness with the people that are coming in and out of the restaurant, and a sort of understanding that it's a culture that the restaurant and the event space is going to try to support, when guests are coming and going, which already sort of happens at Deb's. And I don't know, Halo, if you want to speak to anything with that, or if you want me to keep going.
I think let's get through this.
Okay. And then then just the last kind of overview is a recognition that we have read the zoning, we understand the decibel levels that are required at certain times of day, and that all of our equipment and our sound insulation will be designed to meet those requirements. And then after that overview, it goes into specifics for for each building. And the restaurant and the event space are a little bit different. The event space is going to be fully new insulation done through spray foaming. And there's going to be, you know, a very specific choice of materials that do not reflect sound, but rather absorb it. So this is why we're using spray foam, which is a really good sound insulator. Then there's even more specific things like there's this product, green goo, high density foam, fiber cloth, and then really importantly, there's air gaps between the structure and between the interior lining of the building. And that air gap allows the reduction of any vibration to travel past the building. So this is a super important piece because other than audio, sort of audio bleed, there's also, you know, vibration. That's what makes you feel sound when you're outside of a space. So the elimination of any vibration is key to acoustic containment. Then on top of just the regular building material, which is the spray foam and this insulation gap, we're going to line the interior of the space with sound absorbent panels, which I'm sure you guys have seen, like if you go to the orchestra or movie theaters have them too. They're just these big panels that get mounted to the inside. And one other thing that this came up also last time with sound bleed is that every door will have a double vestibule or a double wall so that, you know, you can open the interior wall, go into a vestibule, close that door behind you, and then open the outside door to go outside. So you're never getting a direct sound translation from inside the space to the street. And then there's the technical aspect of the speaker installation, which is going to be done by all professional installers, and this has to do with how they're mounted to make sure that there's not vibration happening between the speaker and the piece of wood or whatever that it's mounted on, and that's another way of minimizing vibration. Then there's, I mean, this goes, it's long, but like I can keep going, and if you want me to stop or skip over anything, just let me know. But windows are also a big point of contention sometimes in sound, but you know, we are going to be bringing all windows up to current energy code, and those two things actually support each other because every window will have to be a sort of double paned glazing type, which both is good for, you know, insulation, regular insulation, heating and cooling, and also similar to that air gap in the structure provides this space for vibration to dissipate before it goes outside. So windows are another level. And then there's the sort of similar to the panel that I was talking about before, we're going to have one for the front building and for the back building separately so that they can be controlled autonomously. And there are monitors, there's meters that we can put throughout the space that constantly register the decibel level, and that those get tied back to a sort of main panel. So when we say, you know, that all of these exterior decibel levels will be met, those can be tested with decibel meters that are permanently installed. Performance stage area, same thing, sound dampening properties to reduce vibration. This one is important that the noise assessment will be performed during construction to establish and measure the effectiveness of the soundproofing. So even though this isn't required by the building department by code, like it's not a required inspection, the same way that you have, you know, for framing or plumbing or things like that, we are going to do our own inspection to test all of the equipment before construction is complete to make sure that it's doing, you know, all of these things that we're outlining. Outdoor patios, the same thing. We're going to have, you know, installed decibel meters outside. So it's just, you know, it's a little bit repetitive here, but it's going to reflect those same outdoor sound hours from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. below 55 decibels. Oh, sorry, below 65 decibels during the day, and below 55 decibels from 10 p.m. onwards, so during the night. Restaurant, same thing. I mean, the restaurant is pulling from, you know, those same insulation properties. Again, we're going to have to meet current energy code for the front building as well. So that's something that we're taking into consideration with all of our glazing. And we are doing all new insulation on the front building. So there will be added support there. And those are also all wired by professional installers and controlled by a central panel. So I hope that sort of, there's kind of, we can go back to the beginning to the overview, but it's always this combination of things, from the building materials themselves to the sort of installation of the equipment, and then to the ability to control and to monitor the decibel levels. And those kind of 3 to 4 things will take place in every part of the project, meaning the front building for the restaurant and bar, the outdoor space in the back, and the indoor event space in the rear.
Can I ask you a question? Since sound is such an important consideration here, the proposal that you gave lists a lot of generalized criteria for how you would dampen sound. But it doesn't list anything specific. Do you have in your architectural plans anything specific to say, this is what we're actually going to do? Like usually you have like a sound addendum or acoustic addendum to say, we're going to use this type of foam for acoustic isolation. It's going to lower the dB levels to a certain amount. Have you guys prepared that, or is it just? You have to look at the space and just sort of work on the space as you guys are building it out.
I mean, no, we're going to have to do, but this is why I brought up the energy code thing, because they actually support each other pretty well, because we will need to show those same things to meet energy code. It's just more, and those are, we're working with mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineer, MEP engineer, Kurt Wilsey, who's done projects in Hudson. And we have a structural engineer, Brian Clapper, and the 3 of us are actually meeting on Tuesday to talk about exactly this, like zooming into details for wall sections. But that level of detail, which is normally drawn at, let's say, a 3-inch scale, like a really detailed scale, typically doesn't come until much later in the project. We are prioritizing those because of the specificity of sound and energy. But again, there's no requirements for construction drawings for a site plan review. A site plan review is kind of sort of the macro scale. So it's kind of unusual to jump, 3 phases forward into that small detail phase now, but we are starting those. And I think that the document maybe that you would be looking for, the drawing that maybe you would be looking for, would be something like a wall section, which would be a slice through the exterior wall to show thicknesses of, like, how much framing is there, how much rigid insulation, how much spray insulation. But
following up on Mr. Martin's comment, I think one of the issues that I just jumped out at me when I read it was that the word should is used, and I think the board was looking for use to identify which steps you would be taking in order to mitigate sound. So this is a lot of recommendations, and I think they're looking for an affirmative, something that would be enforceable. So if we had to go in and the sound levels, the outdoor speaker wasn't at 55, but we couldn't enforce it against this because it says, well, it says should and not shall. So I think the information is there, but looking for more of a directive, like these are the steps that will be implemented to ensure that sound is kept below, whatever the level is in the code.
And can we impose that maybe later? As a condition, if they can't give it to us now?
One of the things, we keep talking about pocketbook factory, and sound was a big concern with that project for the neighborhood. It's slightly different here, but the board has raised it as a concern. We discussed sound a lot, and what we ended up doing on pocketbook factory was requiring that before they get their CO, they run some sound tests and do testing.
Right.
And then if what they did wasn't adequate, then they wouldn't get the CO until they came up with a plan.
Yeah, and they had to bring it back to us, right?
So that would be an option here if the board.
Yeah. In other words, since you can't get anything definite
But I think if they're going to be revising this anyway to give more information on the professionals' credentials, I still would like to see what they will affirmatively, what they're committing to do.
The building will have these specifications, and it won't have any sort of sound leakage, so we have a, a definitive blueprint in terms of what you wanna do, not necessarily the wall slices, but just, I mean, obviously, you're in good faith trying to do this and trying to do the mitigation. And we're in no way saying, doubting that you're gonna try to do that. We're just looking at the overall achievability of that, and, as I said, if we can do a test, if you're gonna do something like that, that just verifies that it's gonna be in keeping with the rest of the neighborhood and their needs.
I understand. I think I mean, yeah, and the reason why I wanted us to go through this, and of course, the reason why I wanted us to go through this is because I wanted to show the board that the information is there. And, if I could do, control all, select every should in this document and replace it with will, that would be fine. But that's what I'm trying to point out, is that the content is there, and what we're talking about is the language in which it's written. And even, Patrick Higgins, who wrote this, of his own volition, included the point on running sound tests during construction. That's not something that's required by code or that was asked for by anyone, but that's, we are taking the initiative to do that. So I do want to point out that I know that it's because we're looking at documents and we're looking at signatures and all of these things that we want to get everything in the proper format, and that's fine. But I do want to point out that the content, which is the most important part, I would say, is there. And so that's why I was sort of asking if there's a way to make these changes to language and make these changes to the signatures and just resubmit them without necessarily having to delay months and months, because we've done so much work already to get this to you, to get the content there, and to work with Patrick to get it drafted, and to, like I said, to get it to you 10 days before this meeting, all of these things. And so it's just hard to have to keep getting delayed when we're really hustling to get it all to you.
Well, I think as our attorney said, I think that the document that you presented seemed like a proposal from a consultant to say, this is what we should do. But the document to us should say, this is what will in fact happen.
We will change every should to will and resubmit it, because that is the intention of the document. This was never seen as a should. Like, these are things that we are going to do. And so I am happy to change every should in this document to a will and resubmit it. That's not a problem. And I don't think, and it won't be for Patrick either, because the point of these things is that, and there are some moments in the document that say volume levels will be below the required decibel level during these times, using the word will. So it's a mix, and we can edit it to make it more, in the directive sense.
Okay, but do you understand that we still may ask you to give us a in the resolution, we may ask as one of the conditions of your CFO that you do a sound test.
Is that that's fine, because like I said, and like it's outlined in the document, we were planning to do it anyway for ourselves, because it is something that we care about and are mindful of. We're not doing this also as just a checklist for a board meeting, but because we also want the sound to be appropriate.
No, sure that that's understood. So if we ask.
But when you do that, can that be at the same, let's just say that everything else would be ready for approval? Is that the kind of thing that you could do? You could say, approved, granted that, and put in a line in your notes, granted that you run a sound test prior to the CFO?
Yeah, it'll be a condition on the resolution, on the approved resolution.
Okay. Yeah, then that's fine.
Okay. So,
Right? I mean, I don't want to speak for you, Halo, but I think we were going to do it anyway, so.
Yeah.
well, that's good to know. So, you want to present your parking?
We don't have anything else to present on parking, other than, the continued discussions with the lawyers and drafting the agreement with St. Charles. So it's really just, we looked into, I mean, since we last spoke, we looked at the distance for the municipal lots, but there just, really aren't any within a 5-minute walk, which was part of the discussion last time. And so I think it's really about further discussion on the topic that the board wants to review. I mean, we did a parking study, and there were no specific comments on how that should be revised, other than to just think about the municipal lots. And it sounded like there was just not resolution with the board last time. I don't know if you all have given it more thought, if anybody has any additional questions that they wanted to raise. But we really we spent hours and hours for the last parking presentation to go and count the number of spots that were in a 5-minute and a 10-minute radius. And just to remind the board, there's more than 90 spots within a 2 to 5 minute walk. And that was the presentation that we gave and that we still really stand by. And we really believe that those spots in combination with the agreement with St. Charles will be sufficient for the project.
You haven't went into that agreement yet, though.
They're working on
They're
it.
working on it.
So just one thing to note with the St. Charles, so that you don't trigger the need for site plan review for St. Charles. You might, consider, I don't know if St. Charles has a site plan and if their site plan requires a certain number of parking spaces for the hotel use. But you might want to make the parking non-exclusive between the two. Or, have your attorney think through that, just so, we don't open up a different can of worms by having parking on that other site.
By non-exclusive, you mean that we would both have shared custody of those parking spaces throughout the working relationship?
Correct. So if you, my notes from the last meeting in March said, there's a lot of discussion on parking. The board did ask for more off-street parking at the train or St. Charles, but the applicant said there was no clear parameter for what needs to be provided, and they feel that they provided it adequate. So, I guess if there's comments, now's the time, otherwise.
I don't think it would be adequate for when you have if you have a full event of 200, you said 250 people for the event hall. Am I right? Is that a correct number?
That's the maximum amount of occupancy, but until Craig gives us, the final occupancy of what will be allowed, it's hard to say, but that's what's the maximum by zoning code.
So I think when they're having an event like that, I truly believe more parking would be needed. It's just my opinion. I'm still agreeing with it.
Well, they're saying that, you're saying that in your survey, there are 90 parking spaces available
Throughout the street.
throughout the street, but that doesn't, because there are 3 other event places or, around you, or 2 other event places. I'm presuming that on a Saturday, Sunday night, that many of them will be occupied. Is there any?
So we're talking about 90 spots. So imagine that, there's 3 people sharing a car. Like, it's not one car per person, right? So I think that's also important to keep in mind. And also if we factor in Ubers, like all of these other, I think sometimes we think about like 250 to the ratio of 250 to 90, but there's multiple people per car, so there's also, or more,
And there's people, only one person per car. I mean, I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah,
I've seen where they
right,
put
but for no event space, if you were to put, like, I think it's just kind of rare to have something that's planned one car per person for an event space. That's just, you would have to be a sports arena with like 3 parking garages.
But I would think they would need to look at more places.
We've looked, I mean, this is we may be at, I mean, and this is why we just want to keep talking about it with you all, because we have looked. We've gone and walked up and down the streets of Hudson. We've taken sort of, and we've also looked at municipal lots, and I mean, they're just within the 10-minute walk. They're just past a 5-minute walk. You know, there's the lot by the train station. There's also the one by the hospital, right, Hill, or the Planned Parent. What was the Planned Parenthood conversation? But that's a private lot. Yeah.
It's not occupied at night. That the Planned Parenthood is not occupied at night at all.
How about on Hudson, city center?
Oh, city center.
Exactly, what, did you approach city center? It's a very large lot that isn't used during evenings and weekends mostly.
Right, and but then you have the depot district there, you have the other beer place and yeah, it's big enough for them too. So it's quite a bit for you.
And you have liability issues of parking in somebody else's space, you know, and then.
Will they have to let them know? An agreement with them?
I would think so,
Well,
sure.
yeah, they could not rely on the private lots without some kind of agreement.
Right, so have you investigated any of the other, I think that's a sticking point. I mean, obviously, we're not saying that you need a 1-to-1 ratio
Yes.
of cars to people, potential people, however. They're gonna be different circumstances, and it's doubtful that all those 90 spots are gonna be available on any given weekend, you know, to begin with. Have you investigated have had any other conversations other than the one with the St. Charles about the shared lots like the Hudson City Center?
No, we have not, but we'd be happy to talk to the city center.
And
Does
the
Does anyone know who the appropriate like landlord, or, you know, I know it's like Register Star and Key Bank that.
Carla, you can reach out to me. I have a contact there that I can put you in touch with.
Okay, I'm sorry, who was that speaking?
Me, Michael Humphrey.
and Michael, do you know about the Planned Parenthood one?
I probably have contact there.
Okay, so, yeah, you can reach out to the mayor's office and Michael will help you out there.
So, I mean, just a reminder for the board, the code does not have a standard for parking. And so the planning board is trying to make sure that, you know, this use is appropriately sized, that it's not going to create, you know, huge impact on the neighborhood. Because if it's just an impact to the business, if the business doesn't have enough parking, it won't be convenient for people to have parties there, and people just won't have parties there. And, you know, it's the business's risk, but to the extent that it impacts the community and the neighbors who are gonna lose their parking spots, then that's why the board is reviewing availability.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is sort of part of the interest of like, is it about, like you said, yeah, is it, if there's not enough capacity for the business, that's really at the business's risk to take. So is it about not wanting to take away overnight spots from residents? I mean, then it would be interesting to look at, you know, who has driveways and really who would we be taking away from, you know, from the hours of 7 to midnight. It's not, you know, day-long events.
Your parking study, I don't have it in front of me. Did it build on the depot district plan that's been approved in the area? And consider all the spaces that project was using?
I think that it did, and also I believe that Matt, who put this together, with our project manager, who's not here today, is in contact with the person that conducted the parking study for them, or for the city. It's the same, and has been in touch with the same person. But I can't quite speak to that, because he's not here. But this was done in development with parameters from the city. Like this is where we got the 5-minute and 10-minute, you know, that wasn't something that we came up with.
Any questions from the board? I want to ask a question about the outside area that you're gonna have like a patio area, outside area, right?
In the back.
Right, in the back of the restaurant, between the restaurant and the event hall, right?
Yep.
Is that the, I wanna ask that question again, is that dining? Or just, people gonna get their food on the inside and come out, or they're gonna have waitress service out there?
There are, I'll pull up the site plan, I believe 30 seats out there, but it's service. It's dining service. It's not like a free roaming, get your food inside and just go sit wherever you want kind of thing. You'll be seated.
What are the hours for that? The outside?
Same hours as the restaurant, so 5 to 10 p.m.
12, you said till 10?
Till
Yeah.
10.
Okay. Anybody else on the board has, how about the public? Is there anybody here that want to ask a question about?
Did you say till midnight?
No, they said till 10.
To 10?
Till 10. In other words, the outside area is gonna be open until 10. So people can sit there until 10 o'clock. Once 10 o'clock comes, they'll have to either go inside or home.
Right, the event, we're gonna open until 4 AM.
But that's gonna be on the inside. There'll be,
Sorry, I was just letting you know, you have a hand raised from Tom DiPietro.
oh, I do, okay, Tom? Tom?
Yeah, just a couple things. You kept citing the Pocketbook Factory study on sound. It's nowhere on the website. I've searched everywhere during this meeting.
Yeah.
And
We did too.
it's not there. So, secondly-
researched, that it wasn't there too.
it's not there. Secondly, I would say that I just wanted, I'm a friend of the applicant, so I'm not speaking as Common Council president, but Patrick Higgins, I can speak on his behalf, is a well-known and very successful engineer. And I think you should take that into account. Granted, they need to change the should to the will in this. And finally, I did, as Common Council president, I did send you all the parking study recently done by the city. And I hope you'll look at that before you make your decision on parking, because look, the only people who are going to get spaces in front of a building anymore where they want to go are people who qualify for handicap parking. Everybody's going to have to walk. That's the nature of, that's even a policy decision in some ways. This is a walkable city. And that's how you have to start thinking about parking, not in terms of, we got rid of there used to be an actual sort of parking spaces per table. And that's what we got rid of. And there was a reason for that, to make it easier for businesses to, and it has led to a lot of businesses coming here, restaurants in particular. And finally, what Mike McKellar was saying, and you as well, Teresa, I'm sorry, Victoria, they're the ones who will suffer if there's not enough parking. That's the idea. The parking should be a question of what, if there's not enough parking, they won't get the business. And that'll be their problem. And it's not the planning board's, in my opinion, it's not the planning board to worry about whether their business succeeds or not on that, in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you for your opinion. Any more questions from the public?
But it is our business to see how it
And we-
impacts the
and we
public
will.
and the residents of the city.
And we will. We thank Tom for his opinion, but we will. Okay. Any more questions? Do you have another hand raised, Michael?
So you're gonna continue it to Ryan's report?
Yeah, we're gonna continue this public hearing for our engineer Ryan's report. We'll be sending everything to him, and he should have something ready for, we hope, next month's meeting.
So can you just summarize what you want the applicant to submit for the next meeting?
And also, can we just, I want to just make sure, like make absolutely sure that, that Ryan is getting the correct materials, because we sent I'm just not sure what the board is reviewing necessarily, like that we sent, whenever it was 10 days ago, the updated soil management plan, which was something that was requested by the board at the last meeting, which is something that we've also paid a substantial amount of money to get for you all, and would like for you to take that seriously and pass that on to Ryan, because the reason for the soil management plan is that we have a licensed, qualified engineering company giving us a firm directive that we will give to our builders, to the contractors, for how to excavate safely on the site. And that is not something that was just done as in the original assessment. That is something that we paid for to be able to exhibit to you all that this is possible to do safely without disrupting contaminants. So I just want to, yeah.
What we will do is we will put you in touch with Ryan and you can submit everything again to him, okay?
So you can make sure he has the most
So,
recent
exactly.
plans.
Okay.
Right? We understand that you had to prepare that, but you would have had to prepare that anyways for DEC because there's going to be soil disturbance.
We would have had to prepare it for DEC because we're not needing to, because based on the parameters of the excavation areas, we were not needing to go through DEC. That was something that we did for the board.
Well, I think that's what the board wants their engineer to weigh in on, is what were the parameters that are going to require that soil management plan, and then working with DEC if needed for the remediation.
Yeah, I guess what I'm
So
saying
yes,
is,
so we have it, thank you, and we'll make sure that, you're put in touch with Ryan so you can get him all the information now that the board has retained him.
Now, as a board, if they were to submit this, the sound plan to us prior to the meeting, updated and submitted, we'll have it ready.
Yeah, they submit it in advance, and then the board is satisfied with the parking. You had asked them to approach city center and Planned Parenthood.
Right, if you do all that before the meeting, when we come to the meeting, we'll be, ready. We'll have it all looked at and everything, okay? I mean, it'll be there, we'll get it together, but separately, everybody will have reviewed it, which makes it easier.
okay.
Any more questions? Kayla?
I think we're all set.
So can I get a motion to continue the public hearing for 735, 737 Columbia Street until next month, May 9th,
So,
at 6 p.m.
I do a motion. I second that.
Okay. Dustin, that's you?
Yeah, it's me, Dustin.
Okay, we can't hear your question.
He was second.
Oh, he's second.
He was
Okay.
seconding it.
Sorry, I thought I did it initially, but then I thought I heard someone. Sorry, it's a little hard to hear some of it.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, nobody opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll see you next month.
Thanks.
Okay, can I get a motion to open up the public hearing for 21 North 6th Street? Oh, sorry. 21 North 6th Street, a site plan application submitted by the owner, the Hudson Harmonic, seeking a plan of board approval to convert an existing property into a public and private event space and a commercial cafe on the lower floor. Yes.
I'm Brooke Coleman. I'm the project manager for the Hudson Harmonic at 21 North 6th. I just wanted to remind you why we're here, because
You gave everything to.
yeah, we've sent
Yes.
everything through Craig. But basically, the space was one commercial and one residential. That's how it was zoned. All we want is to change it into commercial spaces because we don't have anybody living there. There's no bedroom. We take that out of the plan. So, in the last meeting, which we were on Zoom all the time, I mean, these guys have been here, but we.
Yeah, some do the handicap space. Yeah, all of it.
So I basically, just wanted the last meeting because there was some concern over the cafe in the basement not having, ADA accessibility to both sides. We do have an ADA bathroom on the main floor and there will be a lift to get to that level, but we didn't have anything going to the basement. The way we spoke to Craig and how we fixed that issue was that we added, cafe seating on the main floor, so there is accessibility, so that there will be service and everything up there that anybody would be able to get downstairs.
Yeah.
I also wanted to just let you guys know that the cafe is not the main part of the renovation. Really, what we wanted to do was the event space to be able to have weddings and, you know, private events and whatnot there. And the kitchen was really there to support that, like if there was a caterer, we needed a place to cook, that kind of thing. And the idea of being able to have as a commercial kitchen where we can like sell coffee or tea or little snacks or whatever, was so that if there's an event happening, so we can run it as a concession, or if there's no event happening at all, the place can be open, so people can come and check it out and just see and enjoy the space like regularly and just like grab a coffee and like maybe hang out, you know?
Yeah.
But so it's not really like a full-blown restaurant by any means. It's
Okay.
only open Thursday to Sunday, like for a few hours during the day, like not even past 5 p.m. So,
Well, we thank you for explaining that, because last month
yeah. I
you
felt
said
it was-
open to the public, that just did throw us into another direction.
Yeah, I know.
It's like
I felt like it wasn't,
To
it
the
was a
public,
little.
people gonna just, you know, you're gonna have a sign restaurant over here. So, thanks, basically for people that come into there when it's open.
Yeah, it'll be, you know, used for during events as the
Mhm,
kitchen.
Definitely.
And then if there's, say, a music event, like, or some kind of like a group meditation or
Yes.
whatever, like
Yes.
a market or something upstairs, we'll sell iced teas.
Yeah,
and
when they're
cookies or
using the
whatever
facility,
downstairs.
right.
Exactly.
No, we saw it as just a restaurant being open and people walking, looking for some place to eat, they can go in there, but now I understand.
Right, yeah, but
Thank you.
I mean, we did actually, I mean, when there's no event happening at all, we did wanna open for limited hours as like a place to go grab a coffee, so people can come in, so it's not just completely shut. Do you know what I mean? So that's, so
But it's just coffee, it's not
yeah,
food.
I know it might be like baked goods, like we haven't completely like made the whole menu.
It's as specific as to what they've given us. Yeah, no.
And like in cafe, so I mean, like it's right, that's like small.
All right, that's good. We can go this far.
Coffee, tea, cookies, sandwiches.
Okay.
It's just a cafe. It's
Yeah,
a
like I
cafe.
said, I think we're trying to put it to a
But
full.
I mean, like, you know.
That primarily serves the event space, but is open throughout the week.
Yeah.
When there's not an event happening, like we wouldn't have. It open for the public and have an event happening at the same time, like if it was like, say, a ticketed event, it would just be people who were ticketed, if it was a private event like a wedding, it would just be people who were invited to the wedding, there wouldn't be people also going downstairs at all. It's the whole idea of having that cafe is just so that like, if there's nothing planned in the space, people can still come in and grab something and look and see and hang out. Yeah, sure.
We're good with that.
Okay.
And we, everybody reviewed the plans. Like she had said, we love the plan. Okay, so is anybody in the public who have questions for 21 North Sixth Street? Is any hands raised?
No.
Did you say, if my recollection, is correct, you said that the upstairs, the balcony is gonna, it's not really, it's not gonna be used.
The balcony
Yeah.
is, we're not gonna open that to the public, there's just, there
What
was
is
like-
that gonna be used for? Because
Nothing.
that's where the apartment was, right?
I don't believe so, no.
The apartment was, I think, in the basement.
Yeah, in the
Oh, in the
basement, there was
basement.
like a random corner.
Okay.
Because I remember when it was for sale, I thought I saw an apartment above everything, but maybe it was just sleeping quarters or something.
I'm not really sure, but I know that right, like now, there's no reason for us to really use it. I mean, initially, when the original plan was they were gonna do a music studio, they're gonna have a big soundboard up there and all this stuff, but that's not happening. So we're just gonna, just so we don't have to worry about anything, anybody getting hurt or whatever, it's just gonna be for like, if, just for staff, if anything at all. Yeah.
We understand, and we're excited by that.
Okay.
Okay, any questions? Any questions from the board? Okay, so can I get a motion to close this public hearing for 21 North Sixth Street?
Well, is anyone from the public here? Did you ask if anyone was here to talk about it?
Yes, I did.
No hands are raised.
No hands raised, there's two gentlemen over there not interested in this.
So I make a motion
Yeah,
I'll make the motion.
And I'll say,
okay. Okay, so the public hearing for 21 North Sixth Street is closed. Now can I get a motion?
So, Michael, I just sent you the resolution. Are you able to pull it up?
We have a resolution to approve the site plan for 21.
Thank you.
Do it that way.
Right, so during the last meeting, we were waiting on the county planning board to get back to us, and they did get back to us. You know, they noted that you would need county health permits, but I'm sure you were working on that separately. So now that we have that, the board can vote.
Yes.
Okay, did everyone get a chance to read this resolution? Okay. And it will be posted on our city planning board page, so the public can review it also. Now, do you owe any? We don't know yet.
They paid an escrow.
Yeah, we gave you guys, you
Yeah,
gave
they
us
paid
the
escrow.
first meeting.
Yes, we're gonna have another bill. Okay. The bills come in and we just charge the escrow. But
Oh,
we're gonna, so can I get a motion to adapt this resolution for 21 North Sixth Street? So move. Okay, so that's 17. And. No, John and Jim. 1 and 2. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so it's approved. Now you're gonna get this as an email, so I need an email address to send this to.
yeah, it's, Coleman.
Why don't you send it to me,
Okay.
planning board chair, please? Send me the email address that you want your resolution to go to.
Okay, just can you tell me your email one more time, just so I have it right here?
What is it?
Should be T.
You said you're supposed to join our. At the city of
At City of
Hudson.org.
And it's Joy, J-O-I or J-O-Y?
JLY, good, thank you for asking.
At City of
Right.
Hudson.org.
Send me an email,
I'll send it right
who am I going to send this to, and then we'll send you the approval. And we check to make sure all escrows are. Okay? But right then.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
Good night.
No, I'm sorry, that was very important. I'm emailing myself anyway.
we'll all have that in this one today.
Okay, so now we go to new business. Which is 250-252 Union Street. This is a site plan application submitted by the owner, which is Union Pine Q0QOCD LLC. They're seeking the planning board approval to merge two properties into one parcel. They're gonna renovate the building to make it consist of 7 family residential dwelling. What is it now? Is it a 6-family residential dwelling?
It's currently 7.
Oh, it's currently 7.
Yep.
So you're renovating for 8?
I think it's going less, but it's saying if they're doing anything beyond the lot merger, that's. And that way I'm.
My understanding is it was 3 and 4, and it's staying 7.
Yeah. So
Okay, now what is your name?
I'm Dustin.
Oh, Dustin, yeah.
Yep.
And Dustin, I'm gonna need, I have your email. Are you the contact person for this application?
Yes,
Like if we ever need to collect escrow money or anything, are you the
I
contact
can,
person?
I'm the representative for the client. I can share the client's contact information with you. It would be. I can share that with you.
Yeah.
I would not be if you need that. It would be for me.
On the applications, they don't give email addresses. And you know, when I'm calling people, no, I'd rather just grab an email. And I don't have email addresses for people.
I can.
Yeah, well, when I'm up. I do that when I'm up. So please, I need that, I need that information. I know who the owner is, I just don't know the email address.
I can.
Do you write well?
I can-
I have to be able
Would you like me
to.
to, I'll email you the account.
Okay.
I have your email.
Okay, you will get the bill.
That's good, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean,
Is it legible? That would be with less tact.
It is letter. If I take my time.
okay, girlfriend, you got it. I'm working on that.
So anyway, we're looking to merge, these two parcels, 250 and 252 Union Street. As you mentioned, 250 Union Street has 4 units in it right now. 252 has 3 units. The current division line between the parcels, runs partially along a partition wall, straight through to the rear of the property. What they're looking to do is, eliminate that division line and merge these into one parcel.
We did the opposite.
Yes,
Last time he was here, he was putting a line between the buildings.
Yeah.
And what address was that? 205,
202, 204. Yeah.
202, 204, okay.
Different
It's
plans.
205,
I think this
207.
is a much easier way to do it.
It is much easier.
So, part of what's going on here is that internally, at some point over time, this partition wall is, no longer along, the boundary. So inside the building, there are actually some, encroachments where, some of the rooms that are part of 250 Union Street are actually, over the property line, into the building space of 252 Union Street. And, merging these parcels would eliminate that encroachment. And that's a large part of why we're looking to do this.
You know, I didn't go see this plan. Somebody just told me exactly where is it.
Here it is, I just pulled it up. right?
Oh, look, thank you. Oh, there you go. Okay, so it's a white building and the bluish looking building.
Yes.
How old is the building?
Been around since I've been here.
I don't get no. I don't know that.
So you're gonna do
No,
a
you're
total renovation?
There are federal buildings that were redone. They're federal buildings that then were revitalized and then expanded and. There are actually two houses originally that were being put together.
Yeah, I remember when I used to live in one of these.
So because this is a subdivision, the board is required to hold a public hearing.
So we're gonna put you on the agenda for next month for public hearing, okay?
That's good.
Can I get a motion?
Well, let me just ask a question. Now, you said you don't know, what were the plan renovations?
I think, down the road, that is a plan, but that's not part of, the lot line adjustment that I'm working on.
Okay.
Here, we're just, what comes next, I'm not sure, but I think, eliminating that, division line makes anything easier down the road.
It's just, I don't think that they're not the contract.
I had a question out to Craig, just confirming that merging the buildings didn't require site plan review. But, you know, he's only told you to apply for subdivision.
Yes, he said, thought this was, thought it could be approved in one meeting, actually, is what he said.
Okay, so, any questions? Yes?
Not yet, I'm not clear exactly what
This is
he's
from the back.
coming for, just for that division
Okay.
line.
Okay, you
Yeah.
have to make it clear to the public.
Yes, okay, all right.
So make it clear.
Yeah. We have, 2 parcels right now, and the property line generally runs along an internal division line,
Right.
or partition wall. What they're looking to do, so this is the existing division line between this parcel and this parcel. And what we're looking to do is eliminate this division line, so it's just one tax map parcel now.
I'm the neighbor, that's, so like, I'm familiar with.
One entrance.
So no, renovations are proposed as part of this point. All I'm proposing or trying to do is, eliminate this division line so that there's
Is,
just gonna be
is
one parcel.
any of that supporting walls, you know,
The walls would stay there, so this is. The division line
Property
is
line.
almost.
You're
Oh,
talking
it's
division line.
the-
It's a property line, right, not the wall of the buildings.
Yes, the property.
Okay, he's merging the 2 lots to make it, like, right now, it has 2 addresses, right?
Yes.
And now with the merger, it will only have 1 address.
oh, okay.
It's just
So-
it's property lines.
So it's not gonna be physically altering anything.
Nah, not the building. I'm glad you explained that, because I just understood.
That's,
These are rental apartments?
yes.
Yeah, so what is, can I ask the purpose of that? Why are you doing it?
Well, like I said, part of it has to do with this encroachment.
The buildings
Because
already are over the property line.
Okay, so they will make it all one parcel, okay, all one lot,
yes.
one
exactly.
address,
Yes.
nothing being.
Would it become one, it'll become one address?
Mhm.
I mean, it
No, I don't
might, it might retain separate addresses, I'm
No, I
not
don't think
sure.
it'll.
But it's gonna be one lot, why would it have two different addresses?
It's- Fine, I mean, that's up to 911, right, how they identify the buildings,
Yeah,
that's not our purview. But it'll be one property lot,
One
one
property.
property tax bill.
yes, one, so we just wanted.
So you have you'll have two buildings, but you have it all on one line. Okay? No renovations, no nothing, just merging a lot, okay,
That's all I.
so there's a lot.
So we're gonna hold the public part of this next meeting?
Next
Well, a lot.
month, we need a motion to set that hearing.
Yeah, and I got one, and that was John, can I get a second?
I'll do a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey. Everybody opposed?
We have a- Michael, would you mind bringing up the other resolution? Thank you.
Yes.
And then Dustin, as last time you had to do deeds out, this one will need a deed in, a deed to merge the two lots, just as a condition, so you can start getting that together.
We already have that one done.
Yeah.
Anything else that, I mean, we'll send out our notices and put it beyond that, that's all you need from me is.
Are they near county building?
Make sure.
No,
I'll send that.
are they near county building?
No.
There's nothing down there.
Does anything change on like, if the term I'm looking for, occupancy? That's because that's gonna be one building.
So-
With 7 apartments instead of one building with 4, right?
Right, so I have that question kind of out to Craig.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll see you next month at the.
All right.
May-
Well,
Okay.
there's a resolution to set escrow.
Oh, yes, sorry about that. How much you would, we kind of don't want to go,
There's a council. You're gonna have to do these studies, are we?
We're just in the studies.
It's for time at the meeting and to review the deed, to combine the lots back.
Or to so any consultant that we use or choose to use.
All right, but
Now, if they get it back if we don't use it, but right now, it's good to have it. Because it's hard to collect, once it's old.
right.
Okay, can I get a motion to adapt the resolution for escrow?
Make a motion.
Okay, escrow. And the amount being 1,000, does everyone agree? Okay, you first, right? Who's second? Okay, John. All in favor? Valerie, you and Dustin, all in favor?
Yeah,
And,
I said aye.
Opposed? You have a question? Okay. Okay, so we'll be sending you that resolution. I'm gonna send me the email. That's who I send it to.
Will do.
Okay, and they have to deposit $1,000.
Okay.
The city of Hudson
And do.
before next month.
We'll be right back.
Thank you. Good evening. Okay, so now we go into other business, which is we're revisiting, releasing some of the escrow money. We have 7 Dock Street, we have 26 Warren Street. We've added 508, 510 Union, which, and that's right, that was 508, 510. No, that's 508, 510 State, sorry. Now, we told you last month that they owed us money, but the city made a mistake, and we owe them money. And then 255, 259 Union Street, we want to get.
Take care.
Yeah, you guys. I wanna get, do everybody agree that these experts, I had sent them, yeah, well, I sent around the email. Just an email at please check to assure that they're not unpaid pending invoices
Yeah.
for each applicant. I sent it to all of y'all.
Okay, we'll check after the meeting.
I'll send it again.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I didn't send it to you. You know, we didn't.
No, it's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We'll check.
We decided to send an email, make it easier. Just tell us what they owe, and then if you say no, you attach it onto the email, and it's helped.
Okay.
Okay, so we have 4, do I get a motion to give the board agree to this?
Yes.
Can I get a motion? Can I get a motion to get the 7 Dock Street, 26 Warren, 508 and 510 State Street, and 255, 259 Union, escrow released? Okay, Jean, who's second?
A second.
You can do it by motion.
Yeah. Okay. Now, we don't have March's minutes because, yeah. We don't have. So, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now, anybody opposed? Okay. We don't have the minutes for March. I told you Linda's under the weather, but we know she's gonna be back soon, okay? So the bills, everybody got the bills?
Yep.
So can I get a motion to approve the unpaid and outstanding bills that, yeah, that's this one. The unpaid and unapproved, bills is, a few things from December. So I don't know where these bills are coming from, but as long as, Tracy sends them to us, we will act on it, okay? So can I get a motion to approve the unpaid and unapproved bills, to be paid?
I make a motion.
Bettina and Dustin. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Jack? Okay. Okay, so the next thing on new business is, okay, we want to set a date for training.
Oh, yeah.
We gotta set a date for training, please, because the faster the better. Please, a date for training.
Like right this moment.
Yeah, we need to set a date, because, you know, it's important that we. It was like this, you know?
Okay,
I
so
mean, it's gonna take more
last
than.
time we did a Thursday evening or a Friday evening.
What's a good
On
day?
Zoom, okay, not Friday.
Thursdays are better.
What do you guys say you're here? What do you say?
Any day except Friday. Wednesdays and Fridays aren't good for me.
Wednesday.
A Thursday evening.
How about you, Dustin?
I could do a Thursday.
Yeah, I was gonna say Thursdays are really good for me.
Okay, Thursdays.
Okay, so
I can do it Thursday, except for what is this, it's the second Thursday?
How about you?
Except for the second Thursday, sure.
So,
Thursday, any day, yeah.
yeah, right. That's why you don't retire
every day is Saturday.
Me too.
So
That's why you didn't come to the last one, right?
I'm looking at. I need some time to prepare the presentation.
Right, so what, just whatever day,
Do something in June.
yeah,
So,
just so we can have a date.
okay, June 1st.
June 1st is good, then.
Okay.
June 1st, okay,
Yeah.
June 1st. At what time? We don't know.
I could do 4, 5, 6, whatever.
Well, what time would you like? Jean? Because I know this has to be after 3 for Jean. It has to be after 3 for Jean. How about you, Randall? What time is it?
Well-
It has to be after 3 for you too, right?
It's gotta be after 4 for me.
Okay, let's do it at 5.
Five to six would be fine now, depending on.
An hour?
Yeah, 5 to 6, 5 PM to 6 PM. And we're gonna be doing and maybe we'll get Craig to join her again.
And the
Michael,
topic
you wanna
is
teach us
secret?
something?
You want a tutorial?
You wanna teach us something?
And what's the topic of the
I was hoping that it would be.
Well, you know, the seeker is important on projects mainly where there's new construction because the existing structures are generally type 2 actions.
Okay.
But I can certainly do seeker, I could do,
What would you guys like?
You're training, you tell me what I
I
should.
mean, seeker, I've gone up and down that flagpole a lot, so I'm not anxious for that, but these guys probably haven't, so.
we have another option, I don't know, if Larry, remember?
Yeah,
How to review a site plan?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
reviewing of the site plan is better, because I
think
just,
that's a good.
yeah, I just gave her this. And it was turned upside down. It looked good to me though. So, yeah, review of, yeah, I think, and we'll see if, can we get, do you think we can get Larry to do this?
If you're in the front or the back, right?
Yeah, I think that'll be better, though, so we can.
Yeah, I think so.
Cut it off with these,
Okay.
because we are a board of the people of Hudson, but not professionals. Okay, so, and I find that to be much easier. Because if they can't explain it to us, then they can't explain it to the city. We don't understand it. How can anyone else? Okay?
That plan, the one that we got back, the acoustical report that we got back from Aqua Factory, can we post that on that?
The website?
On the
It should
website?
be on the website, yes.
I guess.
So the public factory.
Oh, well, yes, let's talk about that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we made an error.
Yeah, there's 40 documents on it.
There's a lot of documents on Pocketbook Factory, but not.
So,
Yeah.
let's talk about that if you guys want. So,
Yeah.
Pocketbook Factory submitted a preliminary report similar to what this applicant submitted. And the board had comments and said, okay, this looks like a good list of shoulds, but what are you actually going to do to implement it?
Right.
So
That's what you said.
when the board approved the project, they had a condition that the applicant would have to come in with their specific sound attenuation plan. And the applicant asked the board to amend the resolution. A few months later, they came back in saying, we're still not ready because our contract, details haven't been worked out. So now it's a condition of CO approval.
Okay,
So they have something, similar with a plan of what they think they're gonna do, and now at the end, they're gonna come in and do a sound test and show how it worked. So they put the risk off until the end that
right.
it will work.
Which is what you were sort of saying to
Yeah.
me too.
And it should, right.
Well, that could be a standard procedure to say, because you sign off at the end, that incentivizes them, because they're not gonna get a CFO, so,
But prior to that, we were telling them we were gonna send them, I had asked Linda to send them, no wonder,
Right,
because it
right.
wasn't there. But that communication never got back until today.
But I was,
It's okay. I mean, you reviewed the substance of their report,
Yeah.
and that's more important than it is.
And their report needs to be, just a little bit more professional, because the guy,
well, he wrote that to them, not to us. That's what I'm saying, it's based on the client, which I get, but
Yeah.
we need a different document, a different type of document, I would think.
Yeah, we wanted something with, in their professional opinion, giving their opinion.
Right.
The process.
Right.
And there's nothing out there.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Oh, what is it? Oh, please. Okay, so, we got the date for the committee reports. Okay, Randall, you're on the committee.
The audit committee.
Right.
I'm like.
And the IDA. Stop looking at you on the IDA.
Something wants to,
Did you go?
I know that person.
Well, if you don't have a report, that's okay. So we'll let the two gentlemen over here give their report. What we're trying to do is get a standard type of escrow fee.
And
So that,
and process.
and process, so that we're not. This is a whole crazy sometimes to say.
Yeah, something that.
Women don't do that, right? So, so we can, have something that we can get to
go look and just say, make it very clear.
So, you know, something standard that we can use in all, in the, you know, when we go, somebody else can get
And then
it. So what did you come up with?
Back to the board meeting, you
I've
should
been researching that, I have
make a statement
maybe
to the
half a
board, like,
dozen
I would invite it.
municipalities that
You guys gonna listen to our report?
I guess.
Okay, go ahead. Dee.
on the escrow accounts, I've been researching it locally. And I got maybe half a dozen of towns and villages that have planning boards. Some of them have an escrow procedure in writing, some of them don't. But they also have collection fees for applications.
We do, it goes to, building department,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
and then Linda has a bunch of them also, but because she's been under the weather herself. we
There she
haven't-
goes, she's right there. Hey, Linda, you wanna say something to us?
Well, we haven't gotten together.
Okay.
It's really
Smart woman.
Feel better.
to get together with all the information that's gathered,
Yeah,
gathered and put it into a presentation form.
so you know, we're trying to just establish the standard escrow fees.
Right.
And people know ahead of time about what they have to pay when they come to the.
Yep,
project.
makes it easier, streamline,
Right.
but
And something else came up about maybe the parking. We read something the other day. We wanted to establish something like if they're having an event of 400 people or 300 people or something, maybe we need to establish something standard for that too.
so
I mean, I did see that report, but it's, to me, the guy ended up saying that the city put the buggy before the horse. That's what I got from it, that a lot of things still need to be put in place where they got rid of all parking. I mean, we don't have transportation in the city, you still have to, you know,
Yeah, that needs to be addressed.
you know, and I mean, you came up with it. I mean, look where you live. I mean, you remember we talked about that?
Yes, we
Yeah.
talked about between the recent construction as well as the recent, business that we have there. The parking is becoming increasingly more and more difficult. You've got people parking down as far as right in front of my house and.
Like she lives
Oh,
on
they
Union,
were-
she lives on
Busy
Union.
day.
Yes,
That's-
John and I,
Exactly.
yes, you see, and they go down as far as you. There is even people that park from the train station and will say parked on our block for a
Right.
weekend or
There's
for
an
5 days.
Acura that's been parked in front of the Allen Street School for now a month. Somebody
Oh.
comes and takes the tickets. The register, I called the police about this. The registration sticker does not match the license plate.
Oh,
It originally had a license plate on the dashboard when it was first parked there. Somebody took that off the dashboard. I have no idea, and it's.
And I've been
it's
home
a-
around here for about a month because I've been out.
and I live on my block. There's just no parking restrictions on that block. But you let there be an event in Hudson, and that event could be all the way at the river. And I come home, I can't get a parking space.
Yeah, but this is consistently going on Allen Street between the construction that is going on. You've got 2 or 3 properties. that are
Right,
being
so these are issues that
constructed.
affect us as individuals and citizens of Hudson. I don't,
Yeah, yeah.
not if we're gonna keep talking.
know.
But.
No, we're not gonna get through it.
Okay,
So
we can-
it's something
we
that-
can adjourn.
But it's, I mean.
So the options are, the common council, the city made a legislative decision to eliminate parking requirements in the city, and that's the framework you're operating within.
Right,
So options would be to ask the city to amend the zoning law to
Okay.
require parking, maybe for projects above a certain size.
okay.
But don't planning boards have the ability to go beyond what the city is designated?
You have the ability to go beyond, but you have to make sure that you're doing it uniformly, and it has to be based on something within your jurisdiction. And so
Yeah,
that's the
right.
seeker process.
Right.
Here,
Right.
just making sure it doesn't impact the community. And so what we had talked about with Ryan White, who's the consulting engineer, is coming up with some kind of standard that you're gonna require traffic reports for projects that exceed X size, because
Right.
right now you're requiring them on some projects and not other projects. But it seems to be the larger projects that you're concerned about, so we don't need to come up with this answer tonight, but just
Right.
making sure that there's some, rationale for when you're asking for that parking,
And-
setting when you're
And
not.
a guideline for them to follow.
And that's what I would like to get us to work on.
Right.
So do I need a committee for that, or can you do it for us?
It's not me, no,
I- So me and me. Can we do it?
You can form a subcommittee of members, sure, you don't need
Who
to
wants
vote
to
on
be on
that.
that?
You can just-
John? Me?
John looks at Gene like, what does Gene have to do with it, John?
No, it's all gonna be straight.
You can add a meeting if you want to take 10 minutes after
Okay.
you do it also,
Okay.
but
So we adjourn and then.
no, you have to be in like an open meeting when you're not.
Can we,
So we'll talk about it next month.
they did a study, I was looking at the parking study.
Hmm.
And again, it's a lot of generalities, it talks about what the current condition exists, but it doesn't give any sort of creative solutions for clients that, we want to attract business, we want to have businesses grow. We don't want to have to infringe.
The clients take it at face and say, well, there's no reason for us to worry about it because it's not part of the city's process,
Right, but
And then we wind up throwing it at them. And it's like, oh, man, but.
So it's an issue that's constantly coming up with the planning board, and I really think we need to address it in a more uniform way.
Right, that's what I'm saying, can we have, we have consultants for different things, can we retain a consultant for parking that can maybe give some more concrete things, like I was gonna say, I would feel more comfortable if she said, we secured 40 spots at Hudson City Savings, the old Hudson City Savings
Right.
Building, and we got 20 spots over here, so we got a guaranteed 70 spots, so whatever, whatever that, we would feel a lot better
So
about that.
on a project by project basis, you are entitled to hire a parking consultant, and your board has done so in the past on big projects, someone who reviewed the parking and helped identify concerns. But in a general sense, you're welcome to do that, but you don't have a budget.
Right.
So that's something that I think the common council's been working on, and maybe you have more input on the study that they've done that you want to send them.
And I would suggest attending future parking study meetings, because there is now a subcommittee of the council that is discussing the implementation of the recommendations of that study.
And nobody on the planning
So-
board is part of that?
No, because it's a common council committee, so,
Okay.
but you're, of course, it's public, you're welcome to
Yeah,
attend.
maybe I can do that, yeah.
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 Yeah, because we,
I think
we
that
don't
would
want
help.
conflict, but we do need something.
Yeah.
Because it is an issue, we're residents, and we have an issue with it.
Right.
Okay?
Well, another thing
Who
to
said something?
consider
Okay.
is when.
I was just saying, I think it would be a good idea if one or some of us can attend those meetings, because I think the other issue that's happening is so many different people are doing new developments and opening things kind of in the same area. So even if we isolate, okay, this restaurant's doing this and this event, but they're all like near each other. So what happens when all of them have something on the same night, So I think, I'm hoping that's something that the parking, the study that they're doing with common council is being addressed.
And if I remember right, the Depot Brewery wound up checking with the folks at the building on the corner of Green Street. And wound up, I think, not getting a very good, much of a response. That's why I mentioned before
Oh,
about
you're talking about the,
One,
The
but then-
City
the
center.
brewery.
it might be different if you're asking just for weekend parking versus they need it
Like
overnight.
residential, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, they have the right to say no. so.
I know. Well, like I said, too, the liability issue comes so big, especially if it's a bar, restaurant, and even an entertainment thing.
and they're talking about being open till 4 a.m. in the morning. That means when I come home, I may not have a space.
Yeah. You should be on before 4 o'clock.
I know.
Teresa, that's what they.
I need to know how, wait.
Only at 5 in the morning.
No, if they're open until 4 a.m., that means those cars gonna stay there until 4. I come home before 4.
Right.
I'm not gonna get a space at all.
Right.
Okay, we thought you had a secret life.
I know.
Okay, so that's an issue I think we should put on the agenda for next one.
You are welcome to do that.
Is that, I thought the max for events for public gathering was 3 a.m. It is 4?
In New York State, you can have a liquor license.
Yeah.
And operate your business until 4 AM. Do we have a right to?
But you do have local ordinances that supersede that, don't they?
I don't believe so. I don't think you can supersede the liquor authority.
It would just be the noise ordinance.
Yeah.
That's the noise. So they could be drunk, but they can't say nothing.
They could,
Right, you could be a quiet drunk. at any point.
You could be drunk, they could be, open your mouth,
they could go for the quorum and be closed by 5.
Yeah.
and they can come out drunk, but they can't
Can't make no noise.
make no noise.
Disorderly conduct.
Wow, right now, no, I don't think any place is open till 4 AM in Hudson.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No. Okay, so we'll put that on the agenda for next month to come back and discuss this. I'm sure I'll discuss it with you more. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn the,
Gleefully so.
Yeah.
Who second that?
I have 2 hands on myself.
All in favor?
Bye. Mhm.
Good night, everyone, thank you.
Good night.
The time is 7:48 PM.